On this Friday, March the 6th, 2026, this is the day we have been warning about all week. A severe weather outbreak is underway right now across the southern plains and Midwest. Fox Weather has gone to live coverage calling this a significant event that will hammer the heartland with dangerous tornadoes and huge hail. The Storm Prediction Center has issued an enhanced risk, Level 3 out of 5, centered over central Oklahoma, eastern Kansas, and western Missouri, including Oklahoma City, Wichita, and Kansas City. More than 58 million people from San Antonio, Texas, up through Green Bay, Wisconsin, are bracing for what could be the first widespread severe weather outbreak of the season. Supercells are expected to produce hail larger than 3 inches in diameter, that is baseball-sized, and strong tornadoes, including the possibility of EF2 or higher, are in the forecast from Kansas City to Wichita to Oklahoma City during the early evening hours. This is happening today. If you are in the risk zone, you need to be ready right now. Let me break down the entire sequence. Here is the setup. A powerful upper-level trough is splitting into 2 impulses as it moves through the west. The leading shortwave is ejecting from the 4 corners across the central Great Plains toward the upper Mississippi Valley. At the surface, a strong low-pressure system near Sioux Falls, South Dakota is pulling warm, humid Gulf air northward while a cold front advances from the west. A dry line, the boundary separating desert air from Gulf moisture, is pushing eastward across the Texas Panhandle and western Oklahoma. The collision of dry western air and moist southern air creates an explosive environment. By the way, if you'd like specific weather forecasts for your region or city, please leave them in the comments. I'll answer them individually as time allows. Also, if you like the video and subscribe to my channel, you'd be very grateful. Now let's move on. The atmospheric ingredients are alarming. Mid-level lapse rates are incredibly steep, meaning the air gets cold very fast with altitude. This creates massive updrafts that bounce ice pellets high into freezing layers over and over again until they grow into stones the size of baseballs or larger. Surface dew points are in the 50s and 60s. Deep layer shear is strong. The SPC discussion notes, conditions are favorable for discrete supercells ahead of the main line, and those supercells are more than capable of producing tornadoes. There is a spatiotemporal window for a strong EF2 or greater tornado, even as the mode evolves. The timing breaks down like this. Between 3 and 4 p.m. Central Time, storms are expected to develop as the atmosphere destabilizes ahead of the front. The first area to watch is across Kansas and the Missouri Valley, where storms fire mid to late afternoon near the surface cyclone. Strong deep layer shear supports supercells near the Triple Point region, with primary risks of large hail and a couple of tornadoes. But convection should grow upscale relatively quickly into 1 or 2 quasi-linear convective systems by evening. The lead QLCS progresses toward the Lake Michigan vicinity with a threat for damaging winds and embedded tornadoes. Further south, the Fox Forecast Center identifies a second area where the warm conveyor, a river of rich humid air, is strongest. This corridor stretches from eastern Oklahoma and North Texas into the Ozarks. Discrete supercells along the Dry Line and Red River toward the Ozarks during late afternoon to early evening could produce very large hail and tornadoes. The danger escalates after sunset. The low-level jet intensifies around and after 6 p.m. Central Time, dramatically increasing wind shear and tornado potential. Storms ongoing during the early evening become more dangerous after dark. This means overnight tornado warnings are possible, particularly across Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. Fox Weather emphasizes that the after-dark timing of the hail threat is especially dangerous because large hail can be just as life-threatening as a tornado if you are caught outdoors. The SPC Enhanced Risk Zone includes Oklahoma City, Wichita, and Kansas City. Surrounding that, a broader risk area stretches from North Texas through Oklahoma and Kansas into Missouri, Iowa, southern Minnesota, Wisconsin, and western Illinois. This puts communities even near the Chicago area on alert for severe storms. The main threats across the broader zone are damaging winds between 58 and 75 miles per hour and hail between 1 and 2 inches in diameter. If you are in Oklahoma City or Tulsa, prepare for a long-duration event. Storms could initiate mid-afternoon and not fully exit until Saturday morning. If you are along the I-35 corridor from Dallas to Kansas City, you are in the bullseye. The exact placement of the worst supercells could be along the Red River, the I-44 corridor, or the I-35 corridor. Saturday brings another round as the threat shifts east. A slight risk extends from the Texas-Mexico border through the eastern Great Lakes. Dallas-Fort Worth finds itself under a severe weather probability for a third consecutive day this week. The tornado threat Saturday looks less robust than today, but damaging winds and hail remain concerns. The cold front sags back into the Ozarks and southern plains, continuing the cycle. On the backside of today's system, heavy snow is falling across the Nebraska Panhandle, South Dakota, and parts of Wyoming and Colorado. This is the winter side of the same storm system that is generating tornadoes further south. The flash flooding threat continues to build. Training thunderstorms over drought-hardened soils have been dumping rain across the same areas for days. The WPC bullseye of 7 or more inches of rain centered around Dallas to Tulsa to Fort Smith is verifying. 2 to 5 inches has fallen or will fall across a massive area from northeast Texas through Arkansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and West Virginia. Flash flood warnings will accompany the severe weather warnings tonight. The temperature pattern driving all of this is extraordinary. Temperatures across the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Mid-Atlantic have surged 30 to 40 degrees above normal. That translates to upper 60s, 70s, and even 80s in areas that should be in the 30s and 40s for early March. This unseasonable spring heat is feeding the storms by providing abundant moisture and energy. Looking ahead, this is not the end. After a brief break Saturday night into Sunday, a second severe weather sequence is developing for next week. Both the European model and the GFS show strong agreement on another round of severe weather Tuesday, March 10th through Thursday, March 12th, targeting the same areas: Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, and Arkansas. The SPC extended outlook already indicates a chance of severe weather for that period. The trough in the west and ridge in the east pattern that is driving this entire sequence remains locked in. A cold front moves through this weekend, bringing temperatures back toward normal, but only temporarily. A rebound to above-average warmth is expected by early next week before the second severe event. Then by around March 13th, temperatures finally dip briefly below normal before a more substantial Arctic blast shows up on the models around March 16th or 17th. Both the Euro and GFS agree on this pattern with unusual confidence for that far out. If that Arctic blast verifies, it could bring a late-season snowstorm to parts of the Midwest and potentially even the Mid-Atlantic. Now the special predictions by region. For the Southern Plains, this is the epicenter today. Oklahoma City faces the most dangerous window during the early evening as supercells mature along the dry line. Southwest Oklahoma has the highest concentration of tornadic potential, according to the latest model data. Tulsa watches overnight as storms move northeast. Wichita is in the enhanced risk for large hail and tornadoes. Dallas-Fort Worth has been under severe weather risk for 3 consecutive days and continues into Saturday. The Wednesday storms produced large hail across parts of North Texas, and Thursday's dryline setup impacted Wichita Falls and Lawton. Today is the biggest day of the sequence with the strengthening mid-level jet-driving supercells that are more than capable of producing tornadoes. The entire I-35 corridor from Dallas to southern Iowa is under threat. Kansas City and St. Joseph, Missouri enter the enhanced risk zone. Storm initiation expected between 3 and 4 p.m. Central Time with discrete supercells, transitioning to bowing line segments by evening. The low-level jet ramps up after sunset, making overnight storms particularly dangerous with reduced visibility and rapidly strengthening shear profiles. Fox Weather reports the atmosphere can support hail larger than 3 inches in diameter. Cities most likely to be impacted include Oklahoma City, Wichita, Kansas City, Tulsa, and the Ozarks region, including Fort Smith and Fayetteville. The cumulative rainfall across this corridor is approaching 7 inches or more this week, raising flash flood concerns even as severe storms continue to fire. For the Midwest and Ohio Valley, the QLCS progresses toward the Lake Michigan vicinity tonight, with damaging winds and embedded tornadoes. Western Illinois and areas near Chicago are in the broader risk zone. Columbus, Indianapolis, Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati, and St. Louis continue to see heavy rain and thunderstorms as the flooding corridor persists. Flash flooding risk is elevated as soil moisture builds. Saturday's severe threat extends into the eastern Great Lakes. The second severe event next week targets this region again, for the Northeast. Temperatures have surged well above normal. The severe weather is further west today, but Saturday's threat extends closer. Snow is not a concern currently, but the March 13th-14th timeframe shows a clipper with Midwest and Great Lakes snow, and the possible Arctic blast around March 16th-17th could bring late-season winter weather. For the Mid-Atlantic, temperatures 30 to 40 degrees above normal today, enjoying spring-like warmth. Saturday's severe line extends from Texas through the eastern Great Lakes and could produce thunderstorms into West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and further east. The models hint at a dramatic cool-down mid-month with the potential for a late snow event around March 16th to 17th, though confidence is low. For the southeast, severe weather brushes into the Arklatex region today and Saturday. The drought across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas continues to worsen. Saturday's marginal risk extends from the Texas-Mexico border northward for the west. Heavy snow across Wyoming, Colorado, Nebraska, and South Dakota on the backside of today's storm system. The Four Corners and Rockies are finally getting beneficial snow. The west coast remains dry under the ridge. The bottom line: this is the day. An active, severe weather outbreak with monster hail, damaging winds, and the potential for strong tornadoes is underway from the southern plains to the Midwest. 58 million people or more are at risk. Supercells, then a powerful squall line, then overnight tornadoes. If you are in the risk zone, have your shelter plan ready and multiple ways to receive warnings. The overnight hours are especially dangerous. Saturday brings another round, and next week it starts all over again. This is what an active March looks like. Stay safe.